Headmaster Vexthor's crystalline antennae twitched with irritation as he studied the application hovering before him. The holographic display cast an eerie blue glow across his obsidian exoskeleton, illuminating the countless battle scars earned during his 30 cycles as head of the Galactic Defense Academy. "Impossible," he muttered, mandibles clicking. "The human scores exceed our most advanced Arxian cadets." Commander Zulra, his second-in-command, shifted uncomfortably beside his desk. Her iridescent scales shimmered in the dim light of his office. "The testing chamber confirmed no evidence of tampering, sir. We've run the diagnostics 3 times. And the humans simply walked in. No prior training. No recommendations from any known institutions." "None, sir." Sarah Chen, age 19 Earth cycles, appeared at our registration terminal this morning. When denied entry, Zulra paused, her throat sac pulsing with embarrassment. "She demanded to take the entrance trials. Said she'd prove herself." Vexthor's compound eyes narrowed. In his centuries of service, he'd never encountered such audacity. The Academy was the most prestigious military institution in the Galactic Alliance. Even getting waitlisted was considered an honor. Yet this human, this child, had waltzed in demanding a chance, and then proceeded to shatter every record in the combat simulator. "Bring her in," he ordered, rising from his desk. His towering frame cast a long shadow across the polished floor. "I want to see this prodigy for myself." Minutes later, Sarah Chen stood before him. She was disappointingly ordinary for someone who had thrown his entire institution into chaos. Average height for a human, with short black hair and quiet determination in her dark eyes. Her only remarkable feature was her stillness, an unusual trait for her species. "Explain yourself," Vexthor demanded. Sarah met his gaze without flinching. "I want to learn. Your academy is the best. It's as simple as that." "Simple?" He activated the holoscreen, displaying her trial results. "You completed the Level 8 combat simulation in 3.4 minutes. Our top graduates take at least 15. You navigated a quantum-class battlecruiser through a neutron storm without a single scratch. Most trained pilots wouldn't even attempt such a maneuver, yet you claim no formal training." "I've always been good with machines," she replied carefully. "They make sense to me." "Machines make sense to you," Vexthor repeated flatly. "Ms. Chen, do you take me for a fool? No human has this level of innate ability. It's genetically impossible." Sarah's composure cracked slightly. Something flickered behind her eyes. Fear. Determination. "Test me again. Any simulation you want. I'll prove it's not impossible." Vexthor studied her for a long moment. His instincts, honed by decades of warfare, screamed that something was wrong. Humans were resourceful, yes, but they couldn't match the natural advantages of species that had evolved for space combat. Yet here stood this girl, casually rewriting everything he thought he knew about human capabilities. "Commander Zulra, prepare the Omega simulation." Zulra's scales paled. "Sir, that's designed for final-year students. No cadet has ever." "Exactly." He turned back to Sarah. "Ms. Chen, if you can complete the Omega simulation with a passing score, you'll have your place at the Academy. Fail, and you'll leave immediately." "Agreed." Sarah nodded once, that same unnatural stillness about her. "When do we start?" The simulation chamber was a massive spherical room, its walls lined with neural interfaces and quantum processors. As Sarah took her position in the center, Vexthor observed from the control room above. He'd seen countless promising cadets broken by this test. It would expose whatever trick this human was using. The simulation began. Sarah's body went rigid as the neural link engaged. On the monitors, Vexthor watched as she faced an impossible scenario: a damaged fighter, 3 hostile dreadnoughts, and a failing reactor core. Even experienced pilots would be overwhelmed by the complexity. What happened next defied explanation. Sarah's hands moved with impossible precision, fingers dancing across virtual controls faster than his eyes could track. She didn't just fight. She predicted, adapted, evolved her strategy with each passing second. The damaged fighter became a weapon in itself, using its failing systems to create advantages no instructor had ever conceived. When the simulation ended, even Vex Thor's rigid military discipline couldn't hide his shock. Perfect score. Every objective completed. Every civilian saved. Every enemy neutralized. As Sarah stepped out of the chamber, her face was pale but composed. Did I pass? Thor's antennae quivered with suppressed emotion. You did more than pass, Ms. Chen. You've done something that should be physically impossible. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Now tell me what you really are. Sarah's mask finally cracked. Fear, genuine fear, flashed across her face. I told you. I'm just good with machines. But as alarms suddenly blared throughout the academy and emergency lights bathed the corridor in crimson, Vex Thor realized this was only the beginning of a mystery that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Alliance itself. The Academy's emergency sirens wailed as security teams rushed through the corridors. Sarah stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing multiple unidentified vessels dropping out of hyperspace around the station. Vex Thor's antennae twitched rapidly as he processed the incoming data. 7 warships, Commander Zildra reported, her scales shifting to a combat-ready crimson. Unknown configuration. They're not responding to identification requests. Vex Thor's compound eyes narrowed as he studied Sarah's reaction. The human's face had gone completely blank, but her fingers trembled slightly, the first real sign of emotion she'd shown since arriving. You know something about this, he stated. It wasn't a question. Before Sarah could respond, the tactical display erupted with new warnings. The unknown ships had launched fighters, dozens of them, moving in attack formations that seemed eerily familiar. Those are Academy combat patterns, Zildra hissed in disbelief. But they're wrong. Corrupted somehow. Because they're based on my neural data, Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the alarms. They're here for me. Vex Thor moved with explosive speed, pinning Sarah against the wall. His armored exoskeleton towered over her smaller frame. Talk. Now. Sarah met his gaze, and suddenly the careful mask she'd worn crumbled completely. I was part of Project Synthesis, a classified human program to create pilots who could interface directly with any technological system. They altered our neural pathways, enhanced our processing speeds beyond normal human limits. She swallowed hard. But something went wrong. The other test subjects began to lose their humanity, she continued. The neural enhancements drove them insane. They couldn't handle a flood of data, the constant connection to the machines. I was different. My mind adapted. When I realized they wanted to dissect me to find out why, I ran. Commander Zildra's throat sac pulsed with agitation. And you chose to hide at the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy. Are you insane? I needed to learn. Sarah's composure cracked further. The enhancements give me the ability to interface with technology, but I don't have the training to use it properly. I thought if I could learn from the best. Another explosion rocked the station. The tactical display showed the enemy fighters had broken through the outer defenses. They're using my old neural patterns to predict our defense algorithms, Sarah explained, her voice steadying as she switched to tactical analysis. Standard Academy protocols won't work against them. Vex Thor released her, his military mind already calculating options. Our primary defense grid is automated. If what you're saying is true, they'll slice through it like it's not even there, Sarah finished. But I can help. Let me into your command systems. I can rewrite the defense protocols fast enough to counter their predictions. Absolutely not, Zildra interjected. Headmaster, we can't trust her with our core systems. For all we know, this is exactly what they want. Another blast rattled the station. The lights flickered ominously. Vex Thor studied Sarah intently, his centuries of experience warring with the impossible situation before him. If we give you access, What's to stop you from taking control of the entire station? Nothing, Sarah admitted quietly. You'll have to trust that I'm telling the truth, that I ran because I didn't want to be a weapon. But right now, your standard defenses can't adapt fast enough to stop them. I can. The tactical display showed enemy fighters beginning their final approach. In moments, they would be within range of the station's vital systems. Vex Thor made his decision. Commander, give her access to defense control. But at the first sign of betrayal, he left the threat unspoken. Sarah's hands were already moving as Zildra reluctantly authorized her neural link to the station's systems. The moment the connection engaged, her eyes went wide, her pupils dilating as she processed the flood of data at impossible speeds. The defense turrets around the station suddenly came alive, moving with an organic fluidity that seemed impossible for mechanical systems. Enemy fighters that had been easily evading the automated targeting found themselves caught in cunningly crafted crossfires. Sarah's fingers danced across the control interfaces, but her eyes were closed. She was controlling everything through direct neural connection. Remarkable, Zildra whispered, watching the tactical display as the tide of battle shifted. She's not just controlling the weapons, she's learning from each engagement, evolving the defense patterns in real time. But Vex Thor noticed something else, a thin line of blood trickling from Sarah's nose, the slight tremor in her hands growing stronger. You're burning out, he realized. The neural load is too much. I can handle it. Sarah gritted through clenched teeth. Just need to hold them off long enough. The enemy fighters were retreating now, their stolen combat patterns no longer giving them an advantage against Sarah's rapidly evolving defenses. But as the last fighter turned to flee, Sarah suddenly stiffened. No, she whispered, terror creeping into her voice. No, no, no. What is it? Vex Thor demanded. The fighters were a distraction. Sarah gasped, blood now flowing freely from her nose. They're not trying to destroy the station. They're uploading something into your systems through my neural connection. Some kind of, oh God. The lights throughout the station went dark, and in the sudden silence, Sarah's scream of pain echoed through the command center as her neural link overloaded. The first battle was over, but the true war was just beginning. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow through the Academy's command center as Sarah convulsed on the floor, neural feedback threatening to overwhelm her enhanced mind. Vex Thor moved with surprising agility for his size, disconnecting her from the system while Zildra called for medical support. What did they upload? Vex Thor demanded, supporting Sarah's trembling form. What are we dealing with? Sarah's eyes flickered rapidly, processing information even as her body fought against the overload. It's a virus, but not like anything I've seen before. It's adaptive, almost alive. They've weaponized the same neural patterns that drove the other test subjects insane. The main display suddenly flickered to life, showing cascading system failures throughout the station. Commander Zildra's scales paled to a sickly white. It's spreading through every networked system. At this rate, we'll lose life support in less than an hour. That's not their goal, Sarah managed, wiping blood from her nose as she struggled to her feet. They want to take control, not destroy the station. The virus, it's changing the system's base code, making it think like them. Like we were meant to think. A new alarm blared. Proximity warnings from the station's docking rings. Vex Thor's antennae went rigid as he processed the tactical display. Multiple breaches. They're boarding us. Of course they are. Sarah's voice was steadier now, though her hands still trembled. They need direct neural access to complete the transformation. They'll be heading for the main computer core. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the corridors, growing closer. Zildra checked her plasma rifle, scales shifting to combat patterns. Our security teams are engaging, but reports say the boarders are wrong somehow. Moving too fast, shrugging off direct hits. Enhanced humans, Sarah explained grimly. Like me, but broken. The machines they interface with become extensions of their madness. Your standard tactics won't work against them. Vexthor studied her for a long moment, centuries of military experience warring with the impossible situation before him. What do you propose? I need to get to the computer core first, Sarah said, her dark eyes hardening with determination. I can't stop the virus remotely. It's too adaptive, too alive. But if I can interface directly with the core, I might be able to fight it from the inside. That's suicide, Zilra protested. The neural load almost killed you just interfacing with our defense systems. A direct connection to the core while fighting an adaptive virus. It's our only chance, Sarah countered. The virus is designed to exploit enhanced neural patterns. I'm the only one who can fight it on its own terms. She turned to Vexthor. But I'll need help getting there. And you'll need a failsafe. Vexthor's compound eyes narrowed. What kind of failsafe? If I can't stop the virus, if it starts to corrupt me like the others, you'll need to sever my connection immediately. Violently, if necessary. Sarah's voice was cold, clinical. Better I die than become like them. Before Vexthor could respond, the lights flickered again. The virus was spreading faster now, systems throughout the station beginning to behave erratically. Security doors slammed randomly. Environmental controls fluctuated wildly. Time's running out. Sarah pressed. What's it going to be, Headmaster? Trust the human experiment, or watch your academy fall. Another explosion rocked the station. Closer this time. The sound of inhuman screaming echoed through the corridors, along with the distinctive whine of plasma weapons. Vexthor made his decision. Commander, gather every combat-capable instructor and cadet. We're escorting Ms. Chin to the computer core. He turned to Sarah, mandibles clicking softly. But understand this, if you show any sign of corruption, any indication that you're losing control, you'll do what needs to be done. Sarah finished quietly. I know. They moved quickly through the chaos of the station, gathering allies as they went. Enhanced porters had taken control of several sectors, their cybernetically augmented bodies moving with terrifying speed and precision. But they hadn't counted on the Academy's finest fighting as one. Vexthor watched with growing respect as Terra coordinated their defense, her enhanced mind processing combat data faster than any tactical computer. She didn't just understand the enemy's capabilities. She anticipated them, using their own enhanced reactions against them. But with each engagement, with each system the virus corrupted, Vexthor noticed something changing in Sarah's eyes. A growing darkness, a tremor in her voice that hadn't been there before. The closer they got to the computer core, the more she seemed to be fighting some internal battle. As they approached their objective, Sarah suddenly stumbled, catching herself against a wall. When she looked up, her eyes were wild, pupils dilated unnaturally. It's calling to me, she whispered, her voice cracking. The virus. I can hear it in my head. Like whispers in machine language. It wants. It wants. Vexthor raised his weapon, years of training warring with his growing respect for this human who had risked everything to save his academy. What does it want, Sarah? She straightened, and for a moment, Vexthor saw something inhuman flash across her face. Then she blinked, and determination replaced the darkness. It doesn't matter what it wants, she said firmly. I didn't run from the project just to let them win now. Are you with me? The computer core waited ahead, its massive doors already corrupted by the virus, opening and closing in an erratic rhythm. Beyond them lay either salvation or damnation, and only a human experiment stood between the Academy and total destruction. The computer core thrummed with corrupted energy, its massive processors pulsing with sickly light as the virus rewrote their fundamental protocols. Sarah stood before the main interface terminal, her face illuminated by the chaotic display of system failures cascading across multiple screens. They're converging on our position, Commander Zilra reported, her scales rippling with combat readiness. All remaining enhanced hostiles. They know what we're trying to do. Vexthor positioned his security teams at key defensive points around the core chamber. How long do you need? He asked Sarah. To interface with the core, fight an adaptive virus, and hopefully not go insane in the process. Sarah managed a grim smile. Just keep them off me as long as you can. The neural interface cables snaked down from the ceiling like mechanical tentacles. Sarah reached for them with trembling hands, then hesitated. Headmaster, if I start speaking in machine code, if I stop sounding human. I remember my promise, Vex Thor assured her, his voice uncharacteristically gentle. Sarah nodded once, then connected the neural cables to the ports at the base of her skull. Her body went rigid, eyes rolling back as her enhanced mind merged with the Academy's corrupted systems. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Every screen in the core chamber erupted with cascading data, binary code flowing like digital blood through the station's veins. Sarah's body convulsed, but her fingers moved with impossible speed across the interface, fighting a battle none of them could see. The first explosion rocked the chamber's reinforced doors. "They're here," Zildra announced grimly, charging her plasma rifle. "Hold the line," Vex Thor ordered. "Whatever happens, Sarah needs time." The doors buckled under another assault, and through the growing gaps, Vex Thor caught glimpses of their enemies. The enhanced humans had modified themselves further, cybernetic implants bursting through pale flesh, eyes glowing with the same sickly light as the infected systems. They moved like broken puppets, too fast, too strong, all trace of humanity burned away by their neural corruption. The battle erupted in chaos. Academy security teams fired disciplined volleys, but the enhanced boarders seemed to shrug off wounds that should have been fatal. They fought like machines, no regard for self-preservation, driven only by the virus's imperative to spread. Through it all, Sarah remained connected to the core, her body twitching as she fought her own battle in the digital realm. Blood flowed freely from her nose now, and her lips moved in silent calculations. "Status report," Vex Thor demanded, his particle cannon dropping another enhanced boarder that simply wouldn't stay down. "The virus. It's not just code." Sarah's voice was distant, strained. "It's like a digital cancer, spreading through neural patterns, corrupting organic and synthetic systems alike. I'm trying to. She screamed suddenly, her back arching in pain. Every screen in the chamber flickered wildly. "Sarah." Vex Thor moved toward her, but Zilra's warning cry stopped him. "Behind you." He turned just in time to see an enhanced boarder leap from the shadows, cybernetic limbs crackling with corrupted energy. Vex Thor fired, but the creature was too fast, too close. A burst of plasma caught the boarder mid-leap. It crashed to the ground, cybernetic sparking. Zilra stood in a defensive stance, her scales now a deep battle red. "The others are regrouping," she reported, "whatever they're planning." "It's a synchronization," Sarah gasped, her eyes still closed in neural communion. They're going to merge their consciousness with the virus, create a unified network. If that happens, we lose everything, Vex Thor finished. The chamber shook as the enhanced boarders launched their final assault. Academy defenders fell back under the onslaught, their disciplined fire barely slowing the cyber-corrupted humans. "I can't fight it conventionally." Sarah's voice had changed, taking on an artificial harmonic. "The virus adapts too quickly. There's only one way." Vex Thor's antennae twitched in alarm. "Sarah, your neural patterns are destabilizing. Whatever you're planning has to be done." She opened her eyes, and they glowed with the same light as the corrupted systems. "I'm going to merge with it." "That's exactly what they want," Zilra shouted, falling back as another defender fell. "No," Sarah's voice resonated with machine frequencies. "They want to corrupt, to spread. I'm going to give the virus what it wants, and then show it something it's never seen before." "What?" Vex Thor demanded, even as he raised his weapon, remembering his promise. Sarah smiled, blood running from her eyes now. "Humanity." The chamber exploded in light as Sarah fully opened herself to the virus, accepting its digital infection. But instead of succumbing to the corruption, she embraced it. channeling it, redirecting its hunger for connection into something new. The enhanced porters suddenly froze, their cybernetic components shrieking in protest. On every screen, binary code rewrote itself in impossible patterns as two forms of consciousness, human and viral, fought for dominance. And in the center of it all, Sarah Chen screamed her defiance to the machine void, proving that sometimes the most human thing of all is the willingness to sacrifice everything to save others. The battle for the Academy had reached its turning point, but the price of victory remained to be seen. Time seemed to stop in the computer core as Sarah's consciousness merged with the virus. Human determination meeting machine logic in a battle that transcended normal understanding. The enhanced porters remained frozen, caught in the feedback loop of their corrupted neural networks. Vexthor watched helplessly as Sarah's body convulsed, her nervous system lit from within by streams of digital energy. Every screen in the chamber displayed the same chaotic pattern. Human brainwaves intertwined with viral code in an impossible dance. Her vital signs are critical, Zilra reported, monitoring the medical readouts. Neural activity off the charts. She can't sustain this. Sarah. Vexthor called out, remembering his promise but desperately hoping he wouldn't have to keep it. Fight it. I'm not fighting it. Sarah's voice echoed with digital harmonics, her eyes glowing with circuit pattern light. I'm teaching it. The virus had been designed to corrupt, to dominate, to spread like a digital plague through both organic and synthetic systems. But it had never encountered anything like Sarah Chen, a human mind that didn't resist corruption but instead embraced connection, showing the viral intelligence something it had never experienced before: empathy. Through her neural link, Sarah shared not just data but memories, emotions, the fundamental experience of being human. The virus, designed to exploit human neural patterns, found itself experiencing humanity instead. The effect rippled through the Academy systems. Corrupted computers began to stabilize, their processes realigning into new patterns that were neither purely machine nor purely organic. The enhanced porters collapsed as their cybernetic implants received new protocols, their broken minds touched by an echo of restored humanity. Impossible, Zilra whispered, her scales shifting to patterns of awe as she watched the tactical displays. She's not destroying the virus. She's changing it. Not changing, Sarah gasped, blood running from her eyes even as she smiled. Evolution. The next step. Synthesis. Her body arched one final time as the transformation reached its peak. Every system in the Academy surged with power, then stabilized into a new kind of operational harmony. The enhanced porters lay unconscious, their cybernetics no longer glowing with sickly light, but pulsing with a steady, healthy rhythm. Sarah collapsed as the neural interface cables detached themselves. Vexthor caught her before she hit the ground, his armored exoskeleton cradling her surprisingly gently. Medical team to the core. Now, he ordered, but Sarah weakly raised her hand. Wait, she whispered, her voice her own again though exhausted. Check the systems. Commander Zilra was already analyzing the displays, her throat sac pulsing with amazement. Everything's working. Better than before. The virus isn't gone, it's integrated, working with our systems instead of against them. Because it understands now. Sarah managed a weak smile. Machines think in binary absolutes. Humans dream in possibilities. Sometimes the best way to beat something isn't to destroy it, but to show it a better way. Vexthor's compound eyes studied her with new understanding. You didn't just save the Academy. You've changed everything we thought we knew about human potential. Sarah tried to sit up but swayed dizzily. Does this mean I still get to be a student? For the first time in his long career, Headmaster Vexthor laughed, the sound like crystal chimes in the now peaceful core chamber. Ms. Chen, I believe you've already taught us more than we could ever teach you. In the days that followed, as the Academy recovered and the enhanced porters began their own journey of rehabilitation, the story of Sarah Chen became more than just a tale of human ingenuity. It became a symbol of something greater, proof that the greatest barriers weren't between species or between organic and synthetic life, but between what was and what could be. The Galactic Defense Academy had been founded to prepare the best warriors in the galaxy. But perhaps, Vex Thor reflected as he watched Sarah, helping other students understand the newly evolved systems, its true purpose was to prepare for something more important. A future where differences became strengths and understanding trumped conflict. As for Sarah Chen, she finally found what she'd been looking for all along, not just a place to hide or learn, but a chance to show the galaxy that being human meant more than any enhancement ever could. It meant having the courage to face the impossible, the wisdom to seek connection over conflict, and the strength to remain true to one's humanity even when merged with the machine. The Academy would never be the same, and that, everyone agreed, was exactly what the galaxy needed.